Hey, what's happening, Bulls and Bears? Today I'm up in Ramona, California. Just took a little day trip out here, and we're in front of a local market here. They have a lot of locally grown food, organic food, raw milk, things like that. And there's some things that we like to local grocery store. So we came about 25 minutes here up the mountain. Ramona, it's still kind of a farming community. There's a lot of we saw a lot of goats, a lot of horses coming up here. Some cows, and you don't see towns like this too much anymore, especially in California. Now remember, California is the #1 agricultural state in the United States, but the cost of living is driving a lot of farms out of business, unfortunately. So stores like this behind me here, Ramona Family Naturals Market, they're becoming fewer and farther between. One note about Ramona, the city of Ramona, is back in the 60s there was a boxing camp back here where Muhammad Ali trained, and fighters like Rocky Marciano, even George Foreman trained here, and I believe it was called the Salt Mine Training Facility or Training Camp. And they called it that is because they said the boxers that trained up here in the mountains, that they worked as hard as someone that worked in a salt mine. They came up here and it's higher altitude, so it was making it more difficult to train. So boxers used to come up here and train back in the 60s. Hey, Bulls and Bears, I found it. This is the entrance to Archie Moore's salt mine, what used to be a training camp for these boxers back in the 60s. And as you can see, looking around, it's still mostly wilderness. There's, if you want to clear your head and get into nature. Reportedly, back in the 60s, they used to do a lot of training out in these mountains, out in these hills, and they used to often encounter rattlesnakes and even mountain lions. Stay tuned for some more economic financial news. Alright, Bulls and Bears, hey everybody, let's get into some news, and I want to tell you where I think things are headed. When it comes to food prices, you know my thought, food prices are going to keep going up. We've got a 1,000-year drought out here in California. We've got reservoirs running the lowest they've ever been, and it's going to get a lot worse as far as the cost of living, food prices. You may see deflation in some of these goods from the department stores, because of all the oversupply and all the panic ordering that a lot of retailers did. But the stock market, I see actually that going down. Even Jim Cramer's out saying sell into any rally. CNBC, Cramer's week ahead, sell stocks any rally as the Fed curbs any market bounce. Isn't it crazy that everything is based on this massive money creation monster behind the scenes, and when the printing even slows down a little bit, then markets go to chaos. Should this really be how everything is. The markets are completely dependent on an infinite money machine behind the scenes, or QE to infinity. Amazing. Stocks, biggest weekly loss since 2020 on interest rate worries. So here we go again. Markets worried about higher interest rates. So what's going to cause the next market rally? Cutting interest rates. That's what I see it as. Please let me know what you think down in the comments. But that looks to be what everything's based off of now. It's just this money creation monster. Once feted as pandemic heroes, world central banks now face uneasy crowd. So when the money was flowing, when the stimulus checks were being sent out, everybody was happy. The people behind sending out the stimulus checks were heroes. And now people are seeing the effects. They're seeing the outrageous inflation, cost of living out of control, and maybe this is what it takes for people to wake up that this machine cannot fix everything. People need to be self-sufficient, independent. And people ask for solutions. I would say be more self-sufficient. That grocery store that I talked about at the beginning of the video, they have, it's either weekly or semi-weekly events there where people can bring in their locally grown food in the parking lot. And you think they're a store, they wouldn't want people doing that, but they're encouraging the community to participate in the food growing. And instead of you taking your currency in there and trading paper currency or swiping plastic for food, people go in and they make trades. So if you grow a whole bunch of something and you have too much of it for yourself or your family, you can go in and trade for whatever somebody else grew too much of. So let's say you grow a whole bunch of tomatoes, you're really good at growing tomatoes, and you have so many, you can never eat them all. They're just rotting on the ground or rotting on the vine. You can take them in and trade them. All right, I don't see that in too many areas. I see farmers markets, and people do trade there. But this is encouraging people to just trade and not just sell their stuff for paper money or plastic or fiat currency. Pretty interesting. I think everybody's going to have to start growing their own food as this continues to worsen. The food crisis, cost of living, we're going to see shortages, and I think we're going to see more people get very uneasy about the food situation. Bitcoin briefly dropped below $17,800, so below $18,000. Wow. Again, interest rates rising. Another market's dependent on low interest rates forever. Should this be how markets are? Amazing. A lot of people say this is a great buying opportunity. Americans are starting to pull back on travel and restaurants. Looking at the highways, I don't really see that. And it's maybe too little right now to really tell, but apparently restaurants and flights are starting to see pullback, and people are gonna have to pull back. People are running out of money. I would encourage people to try to be cautious right now on unnecessary spending. People always say, JJ, we hear the news, it's not good news, give us solutions. Maybe how's about not waste money? Maybe don't buy things that you don't need. Today was Father's Day. My wife was like, oh, where should I go get breakfast at? I'm like, how's about you just make it at home? I love the stuff that you make at home. And she made an awesome omelet, by the way. Mushrooms, onions from our garden. Tasted amazing. Better than anything I could have gotten at a restaurant, and probably a lot cheaper also. So just things like that. I would recommend everybody to take a look at your finances. And if we do see deflation, like ultimately we're going to see deflation in a lot of markets. We're already starting to see many markets falling down. But the buying opportunities are ahead if things continue. Could they change this next month and say we're going to cut rates again? Absolutely. Could they kickstart a new round of bond by this monetary system? And it's not about free markets anymore. It's not about picking good companies and bad companies. Hope everybody's well. Keep stacking. Stay safe. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Peace.